Hello, everybody. Anthony Crane here with Pocket Coach, and let me get my 5-minute timer started. Today's experiment is on feature writing. Problem, we need some way of measuring how much value we flow. And so features have become a really great way to do that. Now, if you use Jira, they call them epics. It's an equivalent thing to a feature in Safe. In Safe, they also have epics, but those are like big projects. We'll have other videos for that stuff. So in this case, feature or a Jira Cloud Epic, these are the things that we're trying to float. They're big rocks, bigger than stories, but not as big as, say, an entire project, okay? So we need some kind of currency to measure that continuous flow. We want to create a continuous delivery pipeline where we are constantly flowing value into our products, and features are that unit of measure, okay? My hypothesis here is that ensuring that your features are right size, just like we want stories to size within a sprint, we want features to size within a quarter. Okay. So 3-month time box, a quarter, 13 weeks, however you want to call it. We want our features to fit in that, just multiple features, just so we have multiple stories in a sprint. And here's the crazy thing. This is not a work breakdown. A lot of people see this hierarchy of epic feature story and they think, oh, it's like Microsoft Project, a work breakdown structure. It is not. It is a value breakdown structure. When we close an epic, the biggest thing we have, that's massive value. One of my favorite tools is Microsoft ADO, and they use a crown for the epics, like the crown jewels. Like this is a big deal, kingdom, right? Whereas the features, the symbol is a trophy, because when you deliver a feature, you deliver a trophy. Also, Jira allows you to create a feature close report that shows all the features you closed in a period of time. If you do it for a quarter, it's almost like the invoice, right? Hey, you paid my teams this much money, and here are the list of features that closed. So features need to be something so interesting, so exciting that it would appear on an invoice, and your customers are like, oh, I'm glad I paid for that. That's awesome. Okay. So features should be exciting to the users, even more so than stories. That's always been true for stories, for features, doubly so. Okay. Time frame for this experiment, 6 weeks. By then, you'll know whether features are working for you or not. You should see a definite increase in productivity if you start focusing your attention on features. So skill growth, what do you got to do this experiment? You have to have written well-formed features using some sort of reasonable syntax. They should represent product value and not just work. It's not a work breakdown, it's value delivery. And you also understand your feature kanban. That's the states that the feature flows through. Now, you can design any one you want. I'm going to show you the one that Safe suggests, but you can do any feature kanban you want that represents flow. Okay. By the way, for the curious, my shirt today is Mystic Dawn. Okay. Love that some people care about that. Okay, so here we have the feature writing workshop that we use to try to help teach about features. And so we have, we're going to start with an example epic. Now, again, remember, those of you not doing Safe, this is just an initiative, a big task, big project, and we break those into features. We break the features into stories, okay? So just think big project if you're not into Safe. So example of a big initiative. And then how do we write features for the big initiative? And then the next steps is, of course, you would move into user stories for these features, and that's a separate video. So here I have in front of you a Safe style epic. And so you can see it's got a certain syntax up top that uses the blue words for, who, the, is, that, and then unlike our in the blue words as well. 2 paragraphs that represent the big project we're working on, some outcome hypothesis, some leading indicators, and some NFRs. We will cover that sort of thing in a separate video. And in fact, we have a separate workshop that will result in this very epic. So point is, you have an initiative, okay? Now, in our initiative, just so you know, we're working with the Pixar social networking site. You don't know what that means, and that's okay. So the next step, once you have your example initiative to start with, or your epic, it's time to come up with the features. To do that, there are 3 steps. You're going to identify the user of your product, you're going to identify the features per user, and then you're going to prioritize those features using some sort of technique. So I'm going to dive in. So clearly I'm going to run out of time. I'll do the second 5 minutes after this one, and in it we'll cover these 3 steps, and we'll look at the feature kanban, and that'll be the whole video. So let's get into it. So first off, this is the Pixar context diagram. So a context diagram shows you the different contexts with which your system is used. We'll do another video on, actually, I think we did a vision document video already. If not, when we do it, in it will describe to you how to find different contexts and why it's important. In this case, you can see Pixar is a system that we are working on, and look at all these users. And the interesting thing here, green means it's new. So if you look at the coloring here, This used to just be some kind of a system to help photographers store photos. Look at all the growth in this particular initiative. Bloggers, a payment system, photo purchasers, email system monitor. Just by looking at this model, you can already see that we're moving away from a photo storage site into more of a photo selling and the networking site. So it's like a Facebook but specifically to move photos, right? So very exciting. And you can tell that right from there. Okay, I'm going to start the second 5-minute timer now. So the idea is whatever your system is, who are the users? What are the other systems that your system interacts with? Those are the different contexts. Okay. Again, look for our vision video to learn more about context. Okay, so in the workshop that we do, we say, okay, so think about Amazon. We love using Amazon because it's very well known. And what would the users of Amazon be? And then we have that as a discussion. Then for an exercise, we actually have you work on your own solution, your own systems, and you identify who your users would be. Okay. And then you would either draw it, you could draw it as a picture like this, or you could just put them in a table, whatever you're excited about. And that's identifying the users. So every product has user. By the way, if you don't know what your products are, we have a separate video on product identification workshop. Take a look at that video to see the exercise for that experiment to identify products. Okay, so now it's time, now that you have your users, it's time to find the features. Now, if you have an existing system, these are new features. If it's not, it's a brand new system, these are features that don't even exist yet, and we're going to create them from scratch. Doesn't matter, okay? But you look at them from the perspective of your users. So think about big, exciting things. So on the side of the box, it slices, it dices, it juliennes, right? That's the kind of thing, big, exciting. When I close them, I'm excited to pay for it. Typically, you'll have 3 to 30 of these in a large release, and maybe 1 to 10 for every type of user that you have for your solution. So these are bigger. They're not small like stories where you might have hundreds, right, in a quarter. For teams with a continuous delivery pipeline, one feature is one deployment to production. So some people are able to do feature close, go to production, feature close, go to production. That's continuous delivery pipeline. That's phenomenal. Okay. You got to have your DevOps in order for that to work. So they're typically very fast to figure out. It shouldn't take you a long time to come up with your feature lists. Okay. And one of my favorite ways to do it is to write a scenario of someone using your system, and each step in that scenario is a candidate feature if it's something that would be big and difficult to do. Okay. Now, just vocabulary wise, in Scrum, you might call these epics. In Safe, you might call these features. Some people call them use cases. The names of those use cases are very similar to these ideas. Okay. Now, if you are doing Safe, they have a structure, name, a brief description, a benefit hypothesis, and acceptance criteria. Even when I don't do Safe, I love this approach. We actually add another thing to it, which is we add I guess we put it up here actually, which is no, it's where do we put it? It's at the bottom. We put typical user. And we also put obvious dependencies. This is for teams that when you have lots of teams working on a single feature, that can be useful. But at the very least, typical users can be a pretty exciting thing to include. There's 2 types. Business features are ones that deliver direct value. Enablers are ones that do not deliver direct value. They're still valuable. It's just not direct value, but they are guaranteed to enable future business value. So when you have an enabler feature, you should be able to say it's these 3 business features that it enables. If you can't tell me what business features it enables, then it's not a good enabler, okay? And that allows you to work on big items that maybe aren't directly valuable. But we want to see 80% business and 20% enabler, right? Like we don't want to see a ton of enablers or you're going right back to waterfall. Pro tip here. A lot of people I've seen write features and they use the same syntax as a user story. Don't do that. They're different things. And when you write them similarly, now when you read them, you forget which one you're looking at. So make sure that the styles are different. Brief description and regular text, benefit hypothesis, acceptance criteria, typical users. Okay. So here is an example. So down the side here for the Pixar system, which now, we're selling photos. Here are all the roles that we identified. And then look at the features. First, they just have a simple name: blog, advertise, sell photos, sell services, submit to a bid. Nice and simple, but super exciting. To the benefit hypothesis, we have enable reputation and influence tracking, enable relationship size tracking, enable traffic to vendor size, so blah, blah. You can read through these, but each one of them should have benefit hypothesis. Now, we do have a video on IDEEM, a technique for benefit hypothesis. It applies right here. So go learn the IDEEM technique if you want to write better benefit hypotheses than the ones you're seeing here. These did not. This has one of the letters of IDEEM, but they're missing some steps. There's no increase, there's no decrease, and those are critical. Here's that same model. So here they did it as a table. Here they did the exact same model, but as a picture. So if you like it as a table, go for it. If you like it as a picture, go for it. I know this looks like a use case model diagram, doesn't have, but this in this case is just the major behaviors of the system and the users of the system and who we interact with. So then we have a discussion for Amazon, who would be some of them, and then an exercise, do that for your own Epic. Finally, we get into prioritization. So for the final 5 minutes of this video, I will talk about prioritization. Actually, you know what? No, we do WSJF in a separate video. So you'll learn about WSJF in a separate video. It's a great way to prioritize features. So look for that video if you want to know how to prioritize. After that, we come up with our user stories and you're done. So the one thing that I don't think I said very clearly, to find the features, the easiest thing is to either do a journey map or to do a scenario. I like scenarios because I can do them on a piece of paper digitally, shared, and just run through them really quickly. And then each line is a candidate feature. Journey maps are pretty and they share well and they're great for collaboration, but they take more overhead, they take more time. For the exact same Epic, I've been able to create 40 features in the same amount of time that with a journey map, we created 12 features. So I go for the scenario-driven discovery. You can look at that if you watch our story writing video. The same technique we put in our story writing video works for finding epics features from an epic. All right, well, I'm over time, so I am going to stop my share. So I'm Anthony Crane with Pocket Coach. Hopefully you found this feature writing workshop useful, and you can go out there and start writing your features.